and we discussed there are benefits, especially you can change the layout easily. You can reduce the work on changing the styles, and also like that can also be used to have more accessible site, which means like you can change the look and feel when you view the same site in desktop, mobile, or other devices. Right. Now, the first thing that we have discussed last time is in CSS syntax and selectors. Now, selector means a particular HTML tag, it could be, or some kind of ID or class. And within that, we will have declarations. Declarations means you can change different properties for the selector you choose. Now, for example, in here, we are going to change the color to blue and font size to 12 pixels, right? So in this form, by using properties and values, we can change how it actually looks, right? Now, when you talk about the CSS selectors, there are multiple ways to do that. You can have element selector, which means you can have paragraphs, you can have headers, you can have images, anchors, and so on. Or else you can be very specific, we call ID selector with hash. If you put up a name, usually we will use this for understanding or selecting one or two places in a document, right? And then you can have class selector, more generalized. In that particular case, you can use for very specific class, like here we talk about the centering, like the class center, where we align the text to be centered and color to be red. Similarly, we can specify, apply this class for a particular HTML element. Now here p.center means we focus on the paragraphs with class center. What should happen, right? And the final one that what we have discussed is when you refer these HTML elements, you can refer for more than one class. For example given, you can have paragraph and you can say class is center large, which means we refer to different classes. Do you have any questions on selectors, or are you comfortable? The next thing that we have discussed is like when you have the same styles for several elements, then we can group them. Now, for example, here H1, H2, and also paragraph elements, they will center line with the color red, which means you can combine and say, that means as a group, we can say H1, H2, and P. So we can have, so you don't have to repeat this, and the size of the CSS file could be reduced. Right. Then we looked at how to put comments, especially for our understanding or for clarity, we can use comments. The comment usually start with the slash and a star, and also ends with a slash and a star, right? So this could be used as single line comment as well as multi-line comment. So this could be used in both ways, right? The next thing that we have discussed is how to insert a CSS. First of all, there are three ways to do this, and we looked at the first one. I mean, we created, a separate CSS file called my style CSS, and then I have included this, reference for the CSS file inside the HTML document, right? That's what we did last time. Right, now we can also write as an internal style sheet, right? So let's do that as well. So if you go to the folder, you can do this, follow the same things that we have done last time. So I'm going to open up my documents in the folder I have created last time. So that folder is, I have got my CSS, and there you can see I have two documents, right? So I have two documents, my style and page. Let me show you. Right, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a notepad, like we did, notepad, right? To save some time, I will just take the same code, but this time I'm removing this part because this is no longer there. And I'm going to save this as page 2, right? I'll be saving this as page 2. So I'm going to say, okay, page 2.html. So I have already saved, right? If I open this, okay, and together with my code, right? So this is how it looked like. Before we go into the next way, we are going to work on, internal style sheet. So when you want to have an internal style sheet, the trick is within the header, we are going to use a new tags called style tag, right? So we will have style and we end up with /style. And within this, we can specify the elements, like, for example, let me start by putting body. I can say, okay, body, right? So within the body, I can say what should happen to body, right? I can say, okay, background, right? Lead, right? So if I save this file, save, refresh, you can see the color has changed, right? Color has changed. Right. The next thing that we are going to do, I'm going to select H1. That's mean the header, right? So under H1, now we have already done, typing welcome to CSS. So what shall we do for this, right? So for example, I can specify color of the text, maroon. Let me save, refresh it. You can see the color, right? Okay, I have increased the size so that it's clear to you now, right? And then let's give some margin from the left. So I can say margin left. I can say, okay, 40 pixels. Now there are different units. I will talk about this later on. For the time being, it says, okay, I'm actually giving 40 pixels margin from the left. Yeah, you can see that it's moved. Right. The next one, let's look at inline style. Inline styles mean within the tag itself, we can write some styles. So let me demonstrate that with another. So for this time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the same page to save some time. So I'm going to remove this internal style sheet. Okay, this is my original. And I'm going to save it as page 3. Page 3 HTML. And let's open up the folder. Now I have third one. Okay, back to this. Right. Now, inline styles, it's slightly different from the previous. So you going to give in the same place where this is. Now, for example, if you want to change the header 1, so we use style here, right? So within, double quotes, I can decide like how the style should be. I can say, okay, color should be blue. And if you save it, yes, the color has changed to blue. Let's give some margin as well. So the second one, I'm going to say, okay, margin for the left side, right? Let me give 30 pixels, right? So when you say file save, refresh it, yes, you are getting like this, right? So in this one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at, right, what will happen if you have like multiple style sheets. Now, you have to be very careful about this, and then, you should understand how this multiple style sheets works. Now, what do you mean by multiple style sheets? Now, we discussed 3 ways. First one, external. Second one, internal. Third one, inline, right? So let's assume that, okay, we have external style sheet, color is navy, right? And then within this, we have H1, color is orange. So which one is applied is actually based on which one will be at the end, right? You got my point? Like, let me explain. Now, to explain this one, I will take our page 3, and I will start from the very beginning, and I will create it as a page 4, right? You can do it with me. So I'm going to create page 4 HTML, right? And then I'll be opening page 4. Now let me share this with you, the screen, right? You can see it's like this. Now we have an external style sheet. Let me show you like what we have in the style sheet. That is called my style, right? And let me open this with some notepad, right? Let me open notepad again. Yep. And this is my style. Right, now what we have in H1, for example, the color is navy, right? Okay, so now let's call that here, which means within the header, I have to say okay, right? Here is the CSS file. Right? So I will included that this as a external sheet. I saved it. Now I'm going to run it, right? So what has happened now, we have the background as well. So that has actually changed. And then we can say blue color here. Now, same style if you apply, right? So as internal, not external, under style, see what will happen. So in this one, we are going to have a style. Right? And within this, if you are defining, right? So in this case, I'm going to define, let's say H1. I'm going to change how H1 is looks like. So let me change the color to this time as orange, right? So here is what I have, right? So let me save this. I'm going to say save, refresh it. Okay, I forgot slash here. So you can now see the outcome that we have received is when you have external and internal, it goes with the, uh, internal, right? If you are like wondering, you can change and see whether the order will be in effect, right? Because you need to understand how it works. So I'm going to say file save, I'm refreshing. So you can see it goes to blue, right? Right. If I change it again, let me save, file save, refresh it. So what do you need to remember when you have multiple sheets, right? The last one is used here. Last one is used. So make a note of that. But then again, if you have an inline style, that means inside this, then that will be used irrespective of what you have there. Now, for example, I'm going to say in here, H1, right? So if I say style, if I say color red, and if you save it, refresh it, so it will get red color, right? So what you need to remember is when you have multiple style sheets, here is how it goes. So this order we call cascading order. That means when you have like more than one style, right? This is how it goes. So if you have directly put what something inside the HTML element, it gets a priority. Priority means like if you have inline, so that is what is applied. Otherwise, depending the order in the head section, it could be external or internal. And then third one is a browser default. So if you are not specified anything, right, this could be changed according to the browser, right? So the different browsers, you may have different, settings. So it may look like different, right? So if you want to like, have same, then you have to be, put in those style sheets. Right. Now, I would like to discuss, couple of things. First of all, some properties that you can use to change. Um, so if you look at examination perspective, usually you need to know all this, right? So because of that, I'll be looking at this next. Right. Okay. Uh, the first thing that I'm going to discuss under this, right, under the CSS styles, because in this one, what is we need to know how to change, for example, background, how to change text and font, right? So those are the things that we would like to discuss it here, right? So we are going to look at how the backgrounds look like, right? So let's first start with the backgrounds because that's what we need to start with, right? Okay, so let me share the screen, right? Okay, now the first thing that we would like to know is how these backgrounds look like, right, in CSS. So when you say CSS backgrounds, we can use this property given different values. Now, for example, if you want to change the background to color, then we can say background color and you can provide some color information. If you need an image, you can say, okay, background image. That you can change, right? And when you say default, what happens if you have a very small image, it will repeat everywhere, both horizontally and vertically, right? So that's, and then if you want to repeat only horizontal, then we can say repeat X, right? And then there are like other things. Now, for example, you can show only once by saying no repeat. And then you can also change where it appears. For example, we can say to the right on the top, right? We can say right top. And you can say that, okay, background image should be fixed, right? Now, you can combine all these together. We call shorthand or shorten the code. Now, remember, we talk about how to change the color, how to have an image, whether to repeat or not, where to position it. Everything should be put down in that, right? So usually there should be an order. First, you should, specify color, then the image, then the whether to repeat or not, whether there are attachment, and then the position, right? So now I'm going to explain this with an example, right? Okay, so we'll take our page 4 first. So I'm going to take the page 4 and then I'm going to briefly explain how we can actually change this, right? So in this one, I'll be saving this as page number 5 so that we can easily, navigate different pages to understand. So I'm going to save it as HTML And I'll be removing any of these because I just want to have the default version. I'm going to remove the external version as well. We'll, for the time being, for the easiness, I'm going to put everything as a inline, right? So I hope you'll be agree with me. So I'm going to save. Right now, what we are interested in is about the background property. Now for that, I'll be, going to see how we can do this, right? So let me share the whole screen. So I'm going to open a new file, and then yeah. So this is my screen 2, and then I'm going to refresh it, right? Okay, this is what I have right now. Now we are going to talk about the background, right? So let's specify the color, right? So what we can do is we'll take whatever you want. So maybe we'll modify body. So I'm saying, okay, I'll take body, right? I'm going to change the property body background, because that background could be any other place as well. So the first thing that I'm going to discuss is, let's say, a body background color, right? Background color. And I'm going to say, okay, it should be light blue. So let me save. Let me refresh. And that's what I have. So next thing that I'm going to discuss, how to create an image. So in this particular case, I will use Paint to create a very small image, right? You can change the size. Right now, I'm trying to have, 250 to 200, 50 pixel. Yes. 250 roughly, right? I'm trying to have, okay, yeah, I'm going to, do with this. So let, create a small star within this, right? Let me define the colors. Okay, I will put in this way, right? And then I'm going to take some paintings. So let me use paint for this, like this. And I'm going to save this, right? I can use the way I want. So I will go to desktop in my folder. I'm going to say, okay, star, and I've used the default PNG, and I'll save it. How to include an image, right? Now to do that, I'm going to add another line. So this time I'm going to say background image, right? And then I will say, okay, URL within double quotes. I will put the file name, that is star.png. So let me save it, file save. I'll repeat. Okay, now we did two things to the background. So we have changed the color to light blue, but then we added the image. Now, when you just put the image as it is, it will repeat both horizontally and vertically. Now let's look at how to change this repeat. That's the third thing that we are going to discuss. Now let's say I want to repeat only horizontally, right? Like a banner. Then I can use background. Then we can say repeat. And I can say repeat X. That means basically I'm saying, okay, yeah, repeat the image, but just limit it to horizontally, right? So if I do this, what will happen? This image will repeat only horizontally, right? Let me refresh and show you, right? Now you can see both the background, the color light blue, and the image is repeated only X. So next one, I'm going to say, okay, no repeat. Now here we say repeat X. I'm going to change this proper value to no repeat. Right. So when I save it, you can see, right, it's just image. Now we discuss a couple of things. First one, we discuss how to put a color to a background. Second one, we discuss how to put an image, but when you put an image, it repeats everywhere. First, then we learn how to limit it only to X. Now we said no repeat. Now with that said, I would like to discuss the image position. Now the position can be changed depending on where you want to have this image, right? For example, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add another property called background, right? Position. We call position, right? For example, I can say, okay, right top. Yeah. So to the right side, top. You see what has happened? Right. Now, let's see whether I want to make it a center in the middle. So just change the value. We can say center. Right. Let me save, refresh it. It's in the middle. The next thing is you don't have to write like 4 lines like we did so far. You can just say background, right? Right now I have only one, right? Only background, blue color. Then let me put URL and I can say, okay, my star.png, right? With these two now you can see what happens. The image will be repeated. Now then I'm going to say, okay, no repeat. Right? I put that one also in the same line. So now you can see image is in the default location. Okay, I want to change it to in the middle, center, right? Which is pretty much easy with one single line like this. So let's look at the note. Now this is what we have discussed, the shorthand property. And I told you, like, instead of writing, multiple properties, you can put everything, under single property background. Right. Now let's move on to the text styles, CSS text. When you work with the text, you can change the color. There are different ways that you can actually change the color. You can specify name of the color, but remember the names are limited and this is already given. We have to refer the documents. The second one, actually, we represent the hex format. In hex format, usually we have 6 digits here, but 2 digits represent one single color. First 2 is for red, second for green, the third 2 digits for blue. So what here 0, 0 means the value is 0, that no red color, 0, 0, no blue color, green color. FF means 255, the maximum value for blue. So because of that, it will represent the same color blue. There's another way that we can actually also use the color with RGB format. And then we can say, okay, 0, 0, 255, there are 0 for red, green, and blue. Right. I think we should, start looking at how we could do this. So I would like to get the same page like in earlier, and then I'm going to, modify it. Right. So I'm going to get the my last one, the page 5. I'm going to slightly modify this. I'm going to save it as page 6 this time. Right, I'm going to make it page 6. Right, .html and save it. Okay, I'm going to remove all the styles under body because I just want the empty one. So I'm going to save this. Right, let me open my page 6. Okay, here we have page 6. I'm going to remove the others. So it's plain. Right. Now the first one that I'm going to discuss under CSS, as I told you, the color information, right? So let's look at the H1 text. So I'm going to change H1's text color. So I will start with saying, okay, H1, right? And under H1, I'm going to put, right, the color property. So I'm going to say, okay, color should be blue. So when I say blue, you can see when I save it, refresh it, you will get blue color. Right. Now let me put H2 also. H2. Right, I'll put H2. Then let me save it, refresh it. Okay, you can see the first one is the text is blue. The second one is the default browser default, that is black. Right now, I'm going to change H2 with my second method. So I'm going to say H2, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, color with hash value, hash 00, 00 FF. I told you like this 00 represents first 00 represent red, second green, and the last one blue. When you say FF, that is a maximum value, so you get in the blue color. So I'm be saving this one, and then when I refresh it, you can say that second line also is blue, but two different representation. Let me put another one. I'm going to say, okay, H3. Right, slash H3. So I'm going to put this. So let me save, right? So I have saved this, refresh it. Okay, now we can see the link is given in the browser default. That means the black color. So I'll be using the third method, right, for the color. I'm going to say H3. okay. Color, I can say RGB. I can say 0, 0, 255. So I can save it. So let me refresh it. Yes, everything in blue. So I have explained all the three ways. So I would like to discuss next the text alignment property. So how do you align? So default is left aligned, right? So I can say, okay, let's make it center line. So I can say, okay, text align property. I can say, okay, it should be center. So if I save it, refresh it, you can see it's a center line. So similarly, the second one, you can also have, let's say, right align. So I can say text align right, which will right align this one, right align this one. The other two values that you can actually use, you can use left align because it's already left, so I'm not going to explain. Or justify, meaning like if you have a paragraph, for example, we can make it justify if you have some text. So yeah. So let me show you like the justification property. So I have included a paragraph, and let me save this. And when I refresh it, let's see how it look like. Like if I refresh it, yes. So you can see it's not justify at all, right? Looks sometimes, but not really. You can do by, okay, so now I think it's visible. So it's not justified. So for example, that to justify the paragraph, we can add a style here. So paragraph P, we can say, okay, text align. Right. So what you can do is you can say text align property. You can make it justify. And then when you say justify, so see what will happen. Yes. So it's aligned both left and right. Okay. So with that, we will conclude the session for today.